Hey there, friends. Welcome to the Having a Mom Moment podcast, where we dive deep into the world of motherhood and beyond. I'm your host, Shannon Warner, and I am excited to embark on this journey with all of you. Here's the deal. This podcast is your ultimate sanctuary, your sacred space to hit pause on the chaos of mom life and reconnect with the amazing woman behind the title of mom. Yep, it's all about those precious mom moments because, let's face it, we all need a little more time for ourselves. Am I right? So what can you expect from our time together? Well, picture this. We'll be soaking up wisdom from fellow moms, sharing their stories and triumphs and how they've tapped into alignment on their own motherhood journeys. It's like a mom-to-mom chat over coffee, with a sprinkle of inspiration and a dash of humor thrown in for good measure. We're here to light up your soul, to remind you of your incredible power, and to celebrate the unique spark that makes you, you. Because when we take care of ourselves, we become unstoppable forces for good in the lives of those we love. So join me as we laugh, learn, and rediscover the magic of this crazy ride called motherhood together. Get ready for your weekly dose of connection and encouragement, because around here, we don't just mom. We mom with purpose and power in alignment with our true selves. Stay tuned, my friends. The adventure starts now. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast. I am your host, Shannon Warner, and it means just so much that you're here. I hope your summer is off to a fabulous start. I can't believe it's already July, but there's still lots of time to bask in the glory of the summer sun and hopefully a more relaxed routine. And if you're not experiencing that yet, what steps could you take to maybe enjoy a more relaxed summer? Now let's get started with today's episode, where we're joined by Alyx Coble-Frakes to explore the power of cyclical living and how you can harness your hormonal phases for wellness and success. If you want to support the work Alyx is doing at the Agenda Period, the crowdsourcing campaign, the Modern Red Tent, everything you need to support your cycle holistically is on until July 31st. The link is in the show notes as well. On to the episode. Here's Alyx.
Hi, Alyx. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hello, I am so pumped. I am so jazzed to be here. We're going to have fun.
We are going to have fun. Yeah, we are going to have fun. Before we get into the magic that you and your company puts out into the world, can you first start by telling us about your motherhood journey?
Yeah, so my motherhood journey, I'm a Leo. I like to do things in an intense, really full out way. So my motherhood journey started by getting pregnant spontaneously with twins in March of 2020. What a time to get pregnant with twins.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like if our country would have had a faster COVID response by like 2 days, I would not have gotten pregnant because I got pregnant on March 13th. And literally conception March 13th in room 313 on Friday the 13th. And I cannot lie about that. It is freaky shit.
Shut up.
Actually, one time some lady that I did not know from the internet texted me and asked me, or like DM me, I was like, how do you get pregnant with twins? I was like, girl, I got you. Friday the 13th. March 13th, we're in a hotel room, room 13.
Oh my God.
Instant recipe for twins. And she never commented. She never replied back to me.
You're like, that's not what you were looking for?
I was like, that's the recipe. Like, I don't know what you want from me, but that is literally how I got pregnant.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Insane.
Wow.
313, 333s. I don't know. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. So it started off with like this wild, that was like, my first foray into pregnancy. And because of of getting pregnant during the pandemic, I didn't go to my first appointment until 10 weeks, when normally like you get a dating scan around 6 weeks, which is a whole nother conversation because like it's not even based on your real conception. It's based on your last menstrual period because like the medical system thinks we're not smart enough to know when we ovulate. So like that's a whole other situation.
Yep.
Anyway, so 10 weeks pregnant, 6 weeks post ovulation. 8 weeks post ovulation. I was horrendously sick. I still did not know it was twins. I was throwing up multiple times a day, and I was like, well, I guess pregnancy is just terrible. And it, kind of is terrible. But it was also because I had so many hormones raging through my body, and I just didn't know it was twins. So I go in, and the ultrasound tech was like, okay, Alyx, here's baby A. And I was like, what? Sorry, what? She's like, and here's baby B. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh my gosh.
She's like, yeah, here's baby A, and here's baby B. And I was just like, And then she's like, you didn't know you were having twins? I was like, man, this is my first scan. And no, I did not. Like, she's acting like it was the most cash thing in the whole world. Like a freaking welcome to Tuesday. And I
Oh
was
my
like, you just
God.
dropped a bomb on my whole life.
Oh my
I'm going to need a
God.
minute.
I would have thrown up right then.
I blacked out for the rest of the
I'm
appointment.
sure.
Like, I don't know what
Oh
happened.
my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh my gosh. You know what's so interesting? My husband and I always thought like, oh, we'll have twins and be done. Wouldn't that be so magical? Not that we have twins in our family or anything. And then after we had one, we were like, no, 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 no. Take all that back.
My mom, and people ask me like, oh my God, do you just like love it? Is it like the best thing ever? And I'm like, I would not, my girls are going to hear this interview someday. I would not wish twins on my worst enemy.
Oh my
And
gosh.
like, I am obsessed with them. They are like my girls. They're like the best thing. That's like, but talk about a rip your whole life to shreds. Like the phoenix rising from the ashes, like burn it all down to build you back up because it is so intense. Parenthood is so intense. And like, I'm like, I had never slept the whole first year. I don't even know what was
I'm
happening,
sure.
where I was coming or going.
Right.
What? Yeah.
Wow.
So it really was this catalyst thing that really changed a whole lot in my life. And I think it's because it was so intense. Like, I ended up getting diagnosed with ADHD last year, but only seeking that diagnosis after really starting to understand some things about me that got like thrown into chaos post becoming a mother. And I don't know if that would have happened as quickly if I had had one at a time, but it just like they shredded every system and every process that had been like duct taping my life together for the last 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah, I reflect on like moments of reprieve, you know, with what, okay, this baby has been fed, they've been changed, I can lay them down. That is not the game when you have two in the mix.
No, because then as soon as that happens with twins, the other one wakes up every single time.
Oh my gosh.
And I would think in my head, to no one in particular, if there was one of you, I would be asleep right now.
Right. Oh
If there
my
was only
gosh.
one of you, I would be asleep right now. And like, I'm not mad, but like, bro, get with the program. Can you sleep at the same time?
Right? You guys know each other, okay? You've been roommates for a long time. Like, figure this out.
Can we do this at the same
Oh
time,
my
please?
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And I have two now, but like, I even with the age difference, I thought like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, how much worse can it be? And it is such a handful. It is exponentially more than I imagined. So having it at the same time, yeah, you're a powerhouse because you had to be, right? You just had no choice. Like the only way is to
right.
go.
Like we can't do anything now. We're just gonna keep it moving. We're just gonna.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So two girls.
Thank you. Two girls.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And my mission was really important to me before having them, because luckily I had started my business before them, because I don't know if all of us would have survived that process.
Yeah.
If not.
Yeah.
But now it's even more solidifying, and my business partner is also a girl mom. And so we're just like, we've got so much to prove and we've got so much to change, because our daughter's experience in the world is kind of riding on it. And they'll already have a different experience, just like growing up with us, talking about periods all the time. But we want the world, like the system to be better, not just like our individual home. So it does kind of feel like the mandate is pretty strong at this point.
I think the collective is shifting. It's not all on you. Like you've got a huge mission and it's so important, but I think so many women are taking notice, taking inventory and putting work out into the world that will hopefully,
even like this podcast, just like moms having open conversations about how hard it was. That was not happening even really 5 or 10 years ago. Like moms were just like, it's fine, I'm fine. And like all of us were like, we're drowning. And like our moms, they, like even if I don't know about your mom, but even if I ask my mom now, like, how did you do it? She's just like, it was not bad. I'm like, you must have been miserable. And then you've also like disconnected completely from your own experience of it just so that you could survive it.
Right. Yeah. And I look at my mom, she was a single working mom. My dad was in the picture, but they were not married. And I'm like, well, she could do it. I could do it. I have a good job. I have a supportive partner. Like it'll be fine. It was not fine. It was not fine. And then I was like, what is wrong with me? Well, it's not actually me. I'm not the problem.
No. The system is the problem. And when we don't talk about it, then we all feel so much tremendous personal responsibility that we shouldn't be feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking briefly before we started about like the internalized misogyny that I had when I stepped into motherhood. And I thought, well, my employer's giving me 6 weeks of leave paid. So like that should be enough, right? No. No. Why did I think that, something that someone else, a man decided would be good enough for me? Oh yeah, sure. Seems fine. No. And you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know. And then like, because we have this conditioning of silence, women just like continue to be forced to suck it up and then almost kind of like tear each other down in some ways of like, well, I just had to suck it up. Like, you just need to suck it up. Where like around the world, we have the worst maternal leave of any developed country on the planet.
Yes.
Most of them have 6 months to a year because they understand what it does in terms of like criminality, recidivism, prison rates, like all of these things, what it does to the population when they have their mom for the first 6 months to a year. Crime drops. What? There's a correlation between like infant care and crime rates later on in life. Like it's and so then for people to say like, oh well, we really care about women, like clearly we do not care about women, we do not care about motherhood,
No.
and we are not standing up for, and like our population cannot continue, our country cannot continue without more people birthing more people.
Yeah. We're already starting to see the impact, right? People are concerned, and rightfully so.
Yeah, because people don't want to do it. They're like, why? What is the benefit? What is it as a woman? What's the net benefit for me? You're not gonna have my back. You don't care about me, and you're not gonna give me any time off. And like my body, like another thing that was ripped to shreds for me in my motherhood journey was my health. Like my health got out of control. It was really when the twins turned 2 that I like had this look in the mirror and I'm like, this is not who I want to be. It's not even about the number on the scale, but it's just like my health is out of control because I have not made the time. I have not been able to advocate for like a slice of exercise for myself. I haven't worked out in 2 years and my body is miserable. I am chronically in pain. I am exhausted. I'm not eating well. And it is like I am wildly inflamed and that's hurting every part of my body. So I spent like the last year and a half going on this super intense health reclamation journey. But like that's another thing, right? When we don't give women the space they need to care for themselves, it damages the whole family structure, which has an impact on all of our communities.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then you throw the idea of epigenetics into the mix and it's like, oh, okay, we're just screwing everybody up. It's fine. It's all fine. I didn't realize how bad, like I knew, but I had a conversation with a mom last year from Canada and she was like, wait a minute, your daycares take babies at 6 weeks. And I was like, yeah. She was like, it is rare if a center takes a child under the age of 1 in Canada. Like, I'm sure they exist, and I'm sure there's extenuating circumstances where somebody needs to go back to work before a child is 1. She's like, but it is not the norm here. I'm like, wow, what a concept. Yeah.
Yeah, because what's that doing to babies? Like, we were like so lucky that we didn't have them in daycare until I think maybe really like earlier this year for a little bit. But yeah, what does that do to the babies who like they aren't getting held as much as they would if they were like one-on-one with their parents?
I know. It hurts my heart. My little one, my first was in daycare at about 10 or 11 weeks and we had to like patch together care because they didn't have an opening. And then my second,
because it's all you can do.
Right. I had to go back to work. My husband had to go back to work. And then my second, we were able to, because we were remote at that time, we had a wait list and my mother was living with us for a little bit. We were able to piece it together until about 6 months and then she had to go. But it's just, I love daycare and I'm a proponent of good quality daycare where the employees are getting paid properly and being taken care of as well. But like, it's hard. It's really hard. And it makes me question a lot of things.
Yes, it makes me question it doesn't have to be this way, and it's hard because all of us are too tired to do this individually by ourselves, which is like, again, the good reason for things like this podcast. Like, how do we, get this together for each other? Because it's crazy. It is so crazy the things that we're sacrificing and how that shows up in our health, and it shows up in every area of our lives. Yeah, it's tragic.
Right? How many of us are chronically inflamed, chronically ill, chronically in pain, right? We're just like moving through life, trying to do the things that we have to do. And then those of us who feel called to a higher mission on top of it all, it's like, yeah, this is important. It has to get done one way or another. But that's why I'm thankful that I keep bumping into women like you, because I know I'm not alone on this journey. And I know that there are others putting their magic into the world to hopefully raise the collective in a condensed timeline. We can't wait any longer.
Oh,
Gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. So let's talk about your work. I just happened to bump into you. Instagram did me a favor and recommended you. I am still new to the idea of tracking and living by your cycle. You know, you've always tracked your cycle to some extent because you're like, oh, I think my period's late. But I feel
Yeah.
like we've really been taught more to like just survive your actual period itself and not like
Mhm.
live with your cycle and work with your cycle. So tell
Yeah.
us all about what you're doing and what you're putting out in the world.
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's so true. We're really taught to kind of like get through our period and then like bury it in the sand and be very disconnected. And it's so funny because it actually felt kind of like a feminist mandate for a long time to be like, anything you can do, I can do bleeding. I'm just going to ignore my cyclical body to get along in the workforce and to kind of carve my place out in capitalism. And it is a disservice to women. Women are not little men.
Right.
Full stop.
Right.
Our bodies need different things, including our sleep patterns change throughout the cycle, our caloric requirements change throughout the cycle, our exercise capabilities change throughout the cycle. And like women are badass. Women are amazing. We know this. We know it, we deserve the same amount of respect and we deserve the same amount of care in our world. But equality and equity are different. And what we need equity. We need things that are specifically tailored for our body because we make up half of the planet and our bodies are very different than bodies that work on a 24-hour clock. Obviously, we're impacted by the circadian rhythms, but women and menstruators also have an infradian rhythm being the 28-day hormonal cycle, meaning we are only hormonally similar 12 days out of the year, right? One day out of every cycle matches kind of with each other versus men are hormonally similar every day. Right? They pretty much have the same exact hormonal pattern. It's a little bit impacted by the seasons depending on where they live, but women were very hormonally unique throughout the entire cycle. And so I really fell into this work completely by accident. I have a business degree, so that's kind of my area of focus. And then I became a health coach in 2018, kind of set up my own shop. So I had learned about cycle thinking. I'd read Elisa Vitti in college and Christiane Northrup and, like women's bodies, women wisdom, women code. But I was still on the pill at that time. So I was like, oh, that's cute. But like, I'm taking care of it with hormonal birth control. I'm fine. And so really ignored everything that was going on in my cyclical body. And then when I was about 27, I got off of that. And that kind of coincided with my health coaching journey right along the same time. And I began tracking my sales conversions. And when I was tracking my sales conversions, I found that I had higher sales during the ovulation phase of my menstrual cycle.
Fascinating.
And it's so interesting. Yeah. And so like at first I was like, am I crazy? What's going on? And then I found some research. There's been various studies. The most hilarious one that I've seen was on exotic dancers. And they all made more money during ovulation than any other phase of the cycle.
Oh, that
there's
doesn't
been
surprise
multiple
me at
studies
all.
on exotic dancers
Yeah.
and like way less during their period.
Yeah.
Right. And like maybe it's like how they feel about themselves. Maybe it's like the chemical component, how other people receive them during that time. But I was like, oh, if we can cycle sync for how we eat and how we work out, and we should be doing those things because it impacts our physiology. Obviously, our physiology impacts our world of work because our physiology impacts our mood.
Right.
It impacts our energy.
Right.
And obviously, our mood and energy impact the work product that we create in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the thesis that we jumped off with. Then we created this kind of testing ground. We did a beta test first with 100 other women in business. We like built it all out on Google spreadsheets because I wanted to create a physical planner that showed people how to time block with their period. So like what to work on in the menstrual phase in terms of their business tasks, what to work on in the follicular phase, what to work on in the ovulation phase. So we tested out that there were 100 other women in business, launched the physical planner in 2019. And then eventually that led us to pivoting into the app space because even though there are a lot of period apps on the market, there are not a lot of holistic cycle apps that are actually working on how you integrate this as a part of your life, how you are thinking about your parenthood, your work, your meal plan, your working out, right? Because it impacts every area of your life because who we are hormonally impacts who we are personally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the work in a nutshell.
I have not been into your app yet. I need to check it out because I'm aware now. I have an awareness of when I feel like I want to burn the podcast and my business and everything to the ground. Like I can look at my app and I'm like, oh, Yeah, that makes sense, right? Whereas when I'm ovulating, I'm like, let me do all the things. Like, I'm going to build an empire. Are you coming with me? Right? And then it's just like this up and down. So I've begun to notice the patterns, but the opportunity to look and go, oh, here's what I should be focusing on right now when I don't feel so amazing. That's huge. I'm like, give me the recipe, please. Don't make me figure it out. I have too many things to figure out.
Yeah, we wanted to just make the recipe really easy. So each phase, it shows you like what phase you're in, and it shows you the breakdown of like recommended tasks. And one of the things we really love is it actually connects to your Google Calendar. So then over time, you stop getting so surprised when you're looking at your schedule and you're scheduling things out into the future. You're like, oh, I'm not going to invite my mother-in-law over this weekend. That would be bad.
Right.
Let me invite her over the next weekend. Or like, I love her so much, I'm going to invite her over right now. Or I'm going to definitely schedule that meeting, or I'm not going to schedule that meeting. And you don't have to tell anyone else, like, I'm on my period. You're just like, that time doesn't work for me. Like, what else can we do? What about next Tuesday? Right? You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but you can know for yourself when you're scheduling what is a good idea or a bad idea. And then we also recently launched last year the Cycle Store. So once you're tracking and you actually are putting in your symptoms, then we recommend products to solve challenges that you're having with your menstrual cycle.
I love that so much. And I am 37, about to turn 38, and have had my period since I was 12. And sometimes I am still surprised. Have had 2 babies, had the first one and things were haywire for a long time. And then it kind of leveled out. And I feel like I still have not leveled out since having my second daughter in 2022. So it's just like, we need this. And I know as I get older, things are going to shift too, right? Which is a joy in itself. But like,
I love perimenopause.
Right?
Yeah.
But just to have something to support you on that journey is wildly helpful.
And it's so surprising. Like, we're kind of talking a little bit, about like, our outdated paid like maternity leave and all of that. And what's so funny is when I had this original awareness, I was like, oh my God, I must be late to the game. Like, no one's like, maybe everyone already knows this. And then the amount of people that are shocked when we go to events, to workshops, like the smartest women they're like, the voodoo? The what?
Yeah.
Follicular? What are you talking about? Sorry, what?
Yeah.
My body's not supposed to be doing that right now. Oh, it is supposed to be doing that right now. Why didn't anyone tell me this, Alyx? I'm like, ma'am, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But like, they didn't tell any of us. Like, they're like, and it's this red thread that women, we all have, like, it's something we all have together and in common with each other. And it's still completely shocking and outside of most of our conscious awareness, because it's on purpose. It is on purpose that we are so disconnected from the way our bodies work. It's not. It is not a bug. It's a feature.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the fact we have to show up every single day in a very masculine society where these men reset 24 hours, right? And we do not. And we are worn the fuck out because we are showing up and trying to match their energy when we physically are not designed to do so.
Yes. And then we get belittled for not showing up like that. And then that like continues to further the fact that we can't talk about it because like we're already called out enough.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it's just the stuff that I had no awareness of, like you're saying about these brilliant women who are just like, what? I mean, because really, what did you learn, right? Like I had human growth and development, and that's what I learned. And then I got the little like bag of like, here's a couple of pads, and a little thing of deodorant. Welcome to puberty. Like, what?
And I think they're using the same tapes that we got in high school, to be honest. Like, I think like the tapes are pretty much the same as what we went through the program. Yeah.
I've found my oldest is 7. She walked into the bathroom one day. It was probably a year or so ago. And I had a box of tampons sitting out. And she was like, what are these? And I'm like, well, how can I say this without scaring you? You know what I mean? So I gave her like very surface level. I'm like, this is what happens. And this is what we need to use. And as you get older, we'll talk about it more. But it's like, wow. I'm like, I had a moment. I was like, good job, self. Because, I could have been like, don't worry about it. But I'm like, this is what it is. And it's natural. And you're going to experience it. And
the earlier we talk to kids about it, the better. Because so like my kids, they're 3.5, you know how toddlers are. Yeah. Like they come to the bathroom with me, they'll just be like, so they've seen me on my period a couple of times, and so sometimes they'll just ask like, Mama, are you on your period today? I'm like, nope, not today. But then one time, like I was just on my period, and so then the next time they were going to the bathroom, and they're like, I'm on my period. I'm like, well, nope, you actually don't have a period right now, and you will have one in the future. in the fullness of time, but not saying. And then one of my girls, she was me, well, I'm on my pretend period today. And I said, okay, good for you, ma'am. Good for you to have your pretend period.
I love that. Oh, I hope it's as fun for you in the future, but oh my gosh. Oh,
exactly. It was hilarious. I was just like, all right, girl. But like, they know what it, and they're like, they see me, they're like, oh, that's a pad. They know what the products are. So it's actually, they're going to be so well prepared because it's not a big deal.
Right.
And the more we normalize and have those conversations, the less work we actually have to do later on to get people to know what's going on, because we're just like, oh, it's okay. This is just a thing that happens. Just like going to the bathroom is a thing that happens. Just like eating your food is a thing that happens. Like we just make it as commonplace as that.
Right. And then what a great jumping off point to talk about living in an aligned way with your actual cycle.
Yes.
Right. Instead of just like, oh god, I think of like, oh, having to like stick a tampon in my pocket and like walk to the bathroom and, you know, like in the workplace, like in my 30s, you know, like, oh god, don't want anyone to know I'm on my period.
Yeah, our girls are not gonna have to deal with that, and they're like having tampon earrings, like here you go, just like, because the other day they begged me to take them to work, and I said I will, but I'm on my period, so I'm tired. I'm not gonna come run around with you. And then I had to remind them a couple of times, but then they're like, okay, mama, you sit here. I'll go to play. And I was like, great, thank you. Because like I'm teaching them that cyclical living shit now. Yeah. I'm like, we're getting indoctrinated, just like we can get indoctrinated. I'm getting indoctrinate them into the cyclical way of being, so that they don't have to fight so hard against their own bodies in the future.
Exactly right. Yeah, it was huge for me to realize. And again, it was just like end of last summer or early last fall. I was just like, huh, look at that. Let's pay attention and see how we feel, right? So if someone is just hearing this for the first time, which is likely, where do you suggest they start, or what steps can they take to start honoring their cycle better?
Yeah, I always recommend. So one of the what we call kind of like our symptom tracker in the app is called the cycle check-in. And so we just recommend creating a touch point for yourself, whether it's through our app or if it's just on your favorite journal. But spend 5 minutes, because like from a health coaching perspective, what we do not illuminate, we cannot change, right? So if you're unaware of the pattern that's going on, you are hopeless in terms of fixing it, because you just don't even realize it's a pattern. Because like you were saying with your business, these things happen just far enough from each other, these events, that they can just feel like we're the problem rather than that it's a pattern.
Exactly.
Right? Because like 30 days, like think of all the things you do in a 28 to 30 day span. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, right? Like I'm not going to remember like on day 24 on last month, I was feeling the same way.
Right.
But when you spend 5 minutes to check in with yourself, this is what happened when we first made the planner and we had it. I kept realizing like, I marked it 3 months in a row, and I was like, why do I hate everyone on day 24 of my cycle? Like, I'm so mad, and I think everyone's an idiot and a complete moron. And that's not like me, but I'm like, I need to stop scheduling meetings with people on days. Like, what is wrong with me? I hate everyone.
Yeah.
And then I finally Googled it, and they're like, oh yeah, like irritability on day 24, if you have a 28-day cycle, is actually really common, because it's the day that your body recognizes there's no fertilized embryo in your uterus. So it drops your level of progesterone, the hormone that makes you calm, and estrogen, the hormone that makes you happy, on the same day. Your hormones, like the ass falls out of them on the same day. And I'm just like, oh, that's terrible for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it does that to prepare the endometrium to shed. So there's actually a biological reason for why we get super irritable on that day. But if we don't recognize that it's biological, we take it personally.
Yes.
And we think there's something wrong with us. So start to track your cycle every single day so you can look for what patterns are coming up in your life. And then we always say we take these things seriously, not personally, because they're chemical.
So good.
They're chemical.
Yeah.
Right. So when you start to say like, oh, I can be in partnership, if that means if there's something wrong or there's something symptomatically that I don't like and I do not want to keep experiencing, I'm going to take it seriously, but not as a personal thing that's wrong with me. So then I can find tools to start to change that symptom. Right. And I can live in harmony with that thing so that I'm no longer experiencing it. And I would say people, if you're really new to this, give yourself a good 90 days. Give yourself 3 cycles. Because here's like another fun little fact, right? It takes whatever egg is ovulated took 100 days to mature, which means it was impacted by your habits over the past 100 days. which means if you had a lot of inflammation, lack of sleep, lack of exercise, that impacts the quality of the egg that comes on this ovulation cycle. So give yourself 90 days to kind of clear the cobwebs, start to understand your patterns, start to track these things. And then you can make a care plan, which is like why we're really excited to recommend products and services for people in the app, because like after you understand what's going on, then you can move to empowered action. But you can't do that if you don't know what's going on.
Seriously, ladies listening, just start noticing. And we talk about how we repeat patterns in our lives, right? But it's when you notice the pattern, take note of the pattern, that's when you can go, I see something here that I don't love. And hey, you've got the power to do something about it, right? Like, let's take our power back, right? We are not like victim to this cycle. Like, we are so incredible. And there's a reason we're designed this way. There's a reason our bodies do this. Like, we bring freaking life into the world. And there is I just love being like noticing like my energy spike and how I'm like so idealistic during certain times of the month. And like, I feel so empowered and I feel so ready to make connections and to like have these amazing conversations. And then other times I'm like, no, thank you. And I can plan my life in a way where I don't have to commit to all of the extra things when I don't feel great. Like for me during that luteal phase, which is it's like 2 weeks, right? It's too long for my liking, but that means that I can load those commitments that might not feel amazing on those other days in the other 2 weeks of my month.
Right. And we really notice like the first week of the luteal phase tends to be high energy, but internal. Whereas like the ovulation is high energy external, follicular high energy external. Luteal first week, high energy internal. So I call it my CEO week. So like I don't have a hard time chopping heads off if I need like calling people to task, because like I still can articulate very clearly. My best writing happens during the luteal phase. I actually wrote a book in 2022 in 3 months because I did all of the writing in the luteal phase.
That's amazing. The power.
Because she's articulate. She has high discernment, right? So when we even start to reclaim the gifts of those different phases, even in the luteal phase, we can feel we can soften to that part and it feels so much juicier. And then the second half of the luteal phase is like sensitive. And I'm trying not to use that word with myself so much because I have some triggers around it. But like I would say highly intuitive, highly tuned into my experience, how I'm feeling. Like if something's going to rub me the wrong way and like I feel sad about it, I'm going to feel sad about it in that. Like I'm going to notice where my boundaries are leaky and where I need some additional support the rest of the time, because like the tears might start flowing, like the sadness might come up, like those triggers, those old wounds. And so it gives me this opportunity. Like it comes up again, and then it gives me an opportunity I need more love. I need to say no more during the follicular phase so I don't feel as wrung out during the luteal phase.
Exactly.
Right? She's like this great temperature gauge for like how I am showing up for myself or where I am not showing up for myself, because that's my job to put those boundaries up. And so even just like, because like I hated the luteal phase because like I'm an ovulation girly. I'm a Leo. I am like a super high extrovert. So I'm like, who am I in this phase? Like I don't even know myself right now. And like I don't even like her. What is her problem? But if I was ovulation Alyx all of the time, I would have no hair at this point. I would be ran through because I would just be giving so much of myself to everybody all of the time.
Right.
That I've started to really appreciate like the directness, because I think we can get pregnant. We are more susceptible to people's opinions of us during the high energy phases. Like I am way more, like I'm more self-conscious, even though it seems like I'm more confident on the outside, but I'm also more susceptible to people's like negative responses of me versus the luteal phase. I'm like, and did you have something? Oh, drop that in the comment box. What did you want to say? Oh, you don't like me? Okay, cool. I don't like me right now either. Right. Like I just don't have as much, like, especially during that first week, I'm just like, and versus right now, I'm follicular phase. So if you said, like, don't hurt my feelings, like, sweet.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I definitely need to start paying more attention to internally, like how I'm feeling, my emotions. It's either like high.
It may be totally different for you.
Yeah.
Maybe totally different for you than for me. Yeah. And that's like the work of like tracking it is we really get to get curious.
Yeah.
Like what is coming up for me here?
Yeah. And I feel like I'm the same way, like with my astrology. I'm like, something is amiss here. Like I'm acutely aware, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what fuckery is going on with the cosmos today, And then I'm like,
retrograding right now.
Oh yeah. I'm like, okay, no, yeah, that tracks. So That's kind of, it's more reactive. Just kind of affirming where I'm at in my day or my week.
Yeah.
But yes, I need to be more proactive with it, because just the power of using it for you instead of working against it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that makes our app really different. There's a lot of fertility apps, and we don't talk a lot about fertility. We talk a little bit about libido, but like this truly is a place for you, for yourself, not about like making babies. And like we're moms, but it's just like, but your hormones matter even if you don't want to have kids, even if you're done having kids, even if you never wanted to have kids. Your hormones impact and make up your human personality. So this is important information for you to tune into for your own self. This is not just about giving this away to somebody else. And even so, when we talk about schedule optimization, it's about how will this make you feel better? Not just like so that you can give more of your energy away to your corporate job. This is about like, how do you use this as a reclamation tool for your femininity and for like your powerful work as a woman in the world, as a cyclical being? This is about you. This is not about anyone else. And the beautiful thing about that is that it's going to have ripple impacts to every other person in your life. It's going to impact every relationship that you have, but it comes from a place of your cup getting filled first and everyone else's overflow.
Yes. I love that so much. I always was like, oh, you fill your cup so that you can pour into others. Like, no. You fill your cup, you let it overflow. They get the overflow, right? I love that so much. Do you encounter women who are like, ugh, I don't want to talk about it?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And women who are like, oh, thank God that's over for me. I'm done with that chapter. Like women, like menopausal women tell us that all the time. And I'm like, ma'am, just love your ovaries. Then you still have a hormonal cycle, babes. And they're like, I don't want to. Like that, we get that all of the time.
Oh my
women.
gosh.
Yeah. So like as exciting as these conversations are, it's like, oh, there's still work here. Yeah, we got some more to do here.
It runs deep. Let's pause for a moment. If you're like, ew, periods, like why the hell are we like, ugh? I mean, sure, like physically the byproduct is not amazing, right? Like we can all agree that, but like, why are we like, ew? Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Let's take a beat and think about that.
And also like so like we act like your period is the main event of the cycle, but ovulation is actually the main event of the cycle, and your menstruation is a byproduct. And let me tell y'all, if you are skeptical about this, I just had my period. I didn't even know it was coming because I had no cramps. It just like came on in with a whisper.
Wow.
Like I was bleeding for like 3 days with like where most of the blood came out. And then I had a little bit of spotting for 2 days because our periods should not be extremely painful. If our periods are extremely painful, that is a sign that there is something out of balance. We call it the health report card. Your period, the quality of the blood, the amount of flow, the way that it feels, your physical symptoms is a report card and a direct tie back to you on how good your health is.
Fascinating.
Because the whole body is a system that's connected. And so if we have an issue, our body is so smart, it'll turn off ovulation or it'll delay ovulation.
Right.
Because it's like, boom, 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 not safe to reproduce right now. And we want to protect Alyx over protecting a potential pregnancy that is not even here yet. Right. So it'll delay ovulation, shut off ovulation altogether, deal with problems like PCOS, all these autoimmune conditions, right? It is a direct sign to you something's afoot here. And so again, if we can find a way to be in partnership, like if you can really let go of because people also say to us all the time, it's just normal for periods to be terrible. No, it's not. If you can set that belief to the side and say it's actually not normal, I require and desire a painless period. Yeah. If you take on that new belief, then you can say, if that is not happening, that is my report card. And so I'll know if I'm traveling too much, if I had too much alcohol, if I had too much caffeine, if I haven't been working out enough, my period will suck. And I'm like, that's my report card to show me I have not been taking care of my health.
Wow. I never considered that. I mean, I knew like if you're stressed or going through a season like where the stress is high, your period will behave differently or go away altogether. Like I understand that part, but I didn't consider the rest of this. So, and I'm reflecting now like, okay, it's been 2 years since I've had my daughter. So things are leveling off. Right. And it's like, what is this telling me? Because it is, the first day I'm like, please kill me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe there's an opportunity for some additional magnesium to reduce bloating.
Oh, for sure.
Or some like different foods, right? And again, these are things that are almost impossible. So this is not from judgment. It's almost impossible in the thick of motherhood, mothering young children. The support system is so completely devoid in the US. And so no wonder we can't, like, I am the founder of this company and like my weight got out of control. I was not exercising. I was not eating because I did not have the capacity nor the support to make any of those things happen. And I know the things to do.
Right.
And I was just so in the weeds.
Yes.
And so like imagine the people who have no idea what to do. Like,
yeah,
let me send you like the life raft, babe. Like get in, it's okay. Because it's just miserable.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I had a similar experience earlier this year where I had totally burned myself out. And I was still standing here preaching, like, take care of yourself, honor your needs, make sure you're resting, do something in the morning for yourself before your children get up. And I was still like, I'm dying. Like, I feel terrible. My body was reacting, you know, it's hard. It's hard. And I have it, quote unquote, easy, I think. It's just the system at large is fucking trash.
Yeah, it's trash. It is completely trash. So this is, again, where we take it seriously, not personally. We're like, within the scope of the things that are possible for me, like you don't have to try to change everything overnight, but like what are things that you could do to give yourself 5 more minutes of space? When I got back into exercise, I was like, I'm going to walk laps in my house for 15 to 20 minutes a day because that is all I can commit to right now. That's all I can do. And like this weekend, I ran 7 miles. Okay. So like, but that was after a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was not like, take it as like, what can I do today? That's going to be 10, 15 minutes. Where can I carve? Like, what can okay, the kids get 10 extra minutes of iPad time, but I'm going to walk 10 minutes and I'm going to get my circulation moving. Like, what can you do right now that's going to give you more space? Because I know it feels like an overwhelming and impossible puzzle to piece together when you're in the thick of it, because I've been there.
Exactly right. Exactly right. The movement piece is so huge, right? Just getting just a little bit, just a few minutes, like you said. For me, I feel like a slug sometimes at the beginning of my period. I'm like, ugh. But I realize like once I get up and I get moving, especially if I can convince myself to take a walk, it's so helpful, right? And I freaking threw my back out a couple weeks ago talking about, you know, warning signs, right? And my chiropractor was like, you need to move. Like, I need you to walk. You know, I'm like, I don't want to, you know, but it helps. We're so resistant. And it's the fixes are not all huge undertakings, you know, they can be these small little 2-degree shifts and they're so impactful.
I was so resistant because of diet culture. I was so resistant because I had only ever moved because I hated myself and I was trying to be thin.
Wow.
You know, like the only time I'd ever exercised was like try to make myself smaller on purpose. And so I didn't want to do that as like, especially like a boss lady and a mom and like trying to like be a girl mom and like try to defeat diet culture. And then like, also last year I got diagnosed with ADHD, and everything about ADHD is like, ma'am, you need to move. You need to move daily for like to get your dopamine levels in check. Yeah. Because otherwise your brain just like runs away with itself. Like for your brain health, get your shit moving. Like you need to move. Mm-hmm. And then I had like, okay, I'm going to let down this piece of diet culture and I'm going to move for my brain health first. And that is going to be more important than even what I look like on the outside or what the number on the scale says.
So good.
And that was a big shift.
So good. Yes. I weekly chat with my friend who's a dietitian, Hannah Koshak, on Healthy Table Talks. It's her show, but she's so anti-diet culture. And as a dietitian, you know, using food to heal your body and and it all comes, it's like these small shifts and finding wholeness and self-love and self-worth outside. Once you start acting from that place, you're going to notice, oh, those numbers on the scale did shift actually. And my clothes do fit better. Like it all comes together without the active, like you said, moving to make yourself feel small or like punishing your body and restricting foods and things like that. Which with your cycle, right, it is so important to eat nutrient-dense things in accordance to what's going on.
Yes, we need different things at different times. And also like the thing that's tricky about like this food is good or this food is bad is like actually every food depends on what your unique body needs, because like peanut butter is great for me, but if you're allergic to peanut butter, that's going to be a terrible choice for you. The same with like people are like, don't eat oatmeal. It spikes your glycemic index and it is a terrible, like oatmeal for me still kind of best way to start my day. I need additional carbs. People with ADHD process carbs differently because it breaks down into glucose, which can pump your level of dopamine. I need carbs at every meal.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I did Whole30 last year And I was so tired by the end. I did it because I was on a fact-finding mission to see how do I clear everything out and then find what works for me and what doesn't work for me, not just what I think works for me and what I think doesn't work for me. And I was so exhausted I couldn't work out. And then I did it again this year, and I did it with carbs at every single meal. And I never felt more amazing in my life.
Interesting.
So my body requires that. And it doesn't matter what traditional diet. So because I have a cyclical body, and I have ADHD, and I have this thing, and I have this thing, and I have this thing. So it's really about becoming the scientist of your own experience and testing out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, not what somebody else says is the best diet to do for everyone.
Exactly right. So good. And now that you can track, well, we've been able to track, but hopefully with the awareness of tracking your cycle, you can take these pieces and go, oh, I noticed this these days. I noticed this these days. Yeah. And allowing space for it all to be okay and moving through it in a way that feels most aligned. And I love that you're like giving us our power back over this. You know, it's like something that always should have been ours, but by the system from which we have to live and operate every single day, it has felt like a crutch, not a crutch. No, it has felt almost like a disability, right? Like, shit, I'm on my period today. I hope nobody finds out. And
there's something miraculous. So there's this phrase I love in health coaching. It says, whatever we don't own owns us. And so there's something miraculous that happens when you're like, it really, it comes up with me all the time in groups of men. I'm like, I'm on my period. And they're like, huh. And I'm like, do you have something else to say about that? Like, what's funny about that? I don't understand the joke. Can you explain it to me?
Right.
Like when you just are in that place of and what?
Mm-hmm.
You want to make, what can you make? I own this completely and entirely. And I'm embodied in this. Like, what can you say to me that can hurt my feelings about this? Then the energy just it just crumbles. You can't say anything to me about it.
Right.
I'm in the luteal phase. Who cares?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very grateful. My husband has 2 older sisters, and then his dad passed when he was a teenager. So it was just just him and the women in the house. And he's like, when we first met in college, I was like, he was like, do you have cramps? Do you need a heating pad? Do you need Tylenol? What can I get you? You know what I mean? He's been so supportive. So it's not all men are that way, thankfully. And men like him, I think, are ready for us to take back the conversation and just be like, okay, all right.
Also, men, if there's anyone listening to this and you want a better relationship, or you are someone who sleeps with women and you want to have more game, learn their menstrual cycle, bro. What? Number one, the libido changes throughout the cycle. You want a better relationship with the woman in your life? Learn her menstrual cycle. Life hack for you. It's free. Learn track her cycle.
I did not know my husband was doing this, and I don't think he was pen and paper, paying attention. But he was like, "Oh, I knew you were ovulating." I was like, "Sir," this was 6 months ago. I was like, "I'm sorry." He was like, I figured it out. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and it's been this many weeks and da 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 da. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Yeah.
But it's also kind of hot.
I know. Yeah, I was like, well, thank you.
Thanks for noticing me in my ovulation energy.
Yeah. Right. Seriously.
Totally.
Is there anything else that you feel like women need to know coming away from this conversation?
I would say, because of what we're up against, we cannot do this by ourselves. It's everyone has whatever you need within you, but find your people, find the people. This is why we added the cycle stores, because people kept DMing us for product recommendations. Women there's so much stacked against us in this work that we need community of other women. And that is also a feature, not a bug, that we have been separated from each other. That's very intentional. When women can't be in community with each other, it is really hard for us to stand in our power in these things. So if I could leave everyone with one thing, it's find your group, find your crew, find the people who you can talk to. We're really diligently working to build out in-app community. So that's kind of what's a little peek over the horizon for us, because we understand what happens when women gather. Everything shifts.
Yes.
Everything shifts. Yes. So before we have that feature available on the Agenda Period app, hang out with each other, find space of other women, find a circle. That's why the Red Tent movement coming back, and just women gathering together intentionally is so important, because then we figure out we're not weird. We're not in this alone. Every time someone brings something, they're like, I'm so scared to bring this up. We host circles all the time, and we even host business circles for women working in the cyclical space. Someone else will say, oh, no. That happened to me, and here's what I did about it, and here's where you can go for this, and here's this resource. And it takes the oxygen out of that thing. So find people that you can be your cyclical self with, and it will make all of the difference.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about the world that we live in now is if you don't have your people in your community, you can go online and find them.
Yes, come hang out with us. We'll like love you up. Come hang out.
So amazing. I have been on calls of a women based community and just looking at Zoom calls and just looking and going, oh my God, like these are some powerful freaking women. Like, and thinking about what we can do individually, the ripple effect that we're causing in our families and our communities. It's just like, I literally feel mothers, especially just because of the state of the union for mothers here, I feel like we could change the fucking world. And I mean that with every cell in my body, because enough is enough. No more. No more.
No more.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is one way that you choose to reconnect with yourself in the busy life of a mom and a CEO?
Movement has really become this way, like this carving out where I don't care who I have to find. I find extra people to watch the girls. And it's just because what it does for my brain. And this morning, I ran a cute little mile and then did a walk. And it's just like, I need to do that for myself because I show up better in motherhood and just in my life. And my health is something, having come from this place where it was so disconnected, I will fight hard to protect it for the rest of my life, because it just what does this mean as I age? What does this mean for my bone density and my muscle strength and all of these things? And it's something that kind of being to the other side of that dark mountaintop is just I'm gonna really continue to fight hard for this, because I know it is a keystone habit for the rest of my life, and everything else works better. And so that's something I really, really protect very, very, just wrap it in a bubble. Yeah.
So good. It made me think, I've had this shift recently. I think so much about my girls and the changes I want to make for my girls and what do my girls need, And very recently, I'm like, you know what my girls need, as someone who, my dad was 67 when he passed. And I'm like, you know what? I need my parents. My girls need me. So how can I take care of me in the now so that I can be here for them as they move through all these phases, Our path is our path. And I feel like if you're supposed to leave the earth at a certain time, you're going to. But if I'm going to be here, if my body can sustain me until 95, then I need to think about that 95-year-old body today for me and for them. So I love that.
Totally.
Okay, please tell everyone where they can find you, follow you, work with you, engage in all your amazingness.
The Agenda Period everywhere. We're all over the place. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We've got a Facebook group. We're constantly launching new things. And please download the Agenda Period app. If you just search the agenda with a period at the end on either app store, it'll pop right up. We never sell data. The app is free. And the way that we are switching our business model is we're getting affiliate commissions from products that are sold in the app. So we like to be really transparent about where people's information is going. So yeah, we never ever have and never will sell people's data. So come hang out with us. We're very intentional and we're just building a community of love and goodness. So we'd love for you to be a part of it.
Yay. Please go check them out. This is such important work. And it's just going to help you live your life more empowered, feeling better, moving through in a way that honors you and your needs, and in a way that then allows you as a mom to spill your overflow into your children and the other people, right? Alyx, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Having a Mom Moment podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and for sharing this space with us today. Before you go, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources mentioned in today's episode. And hey, while you're at it, why not give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook at Having a Mom Moment. You can also visit havingamaMoment.com for even more mom-inspired resources. If you've enjoyed today's conversation as much as I have, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on future episodes. And it would mean so much if you leave us a glowing 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, remember to embrace those mom moments, find alignment in your journey, and always honor the incredible woman you are. Take care, friends, and we'll see you on the next episode.